for anyone out there that's survived any type of isolation or abuse or anything, and you just don't even know if you're ever going to make it out alive, but just having that glimmer of hope going, you know what? I'm going to make it. I know I am. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know I'm going to make it. The only way through your pain is through it. You can't go around it or over it or under it, because it will pop up and smack you in the face right when you're in the middle of something that you think you're doing great at. I'm Athena Moberg, and I share hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
Athena Moberg, I can't thank you enough. You and I have talked before this moment, so you really know I mean that. I thank you so much for spending your time with us today. So you've done a lot that's inspired me and thousands of others just watching along in the story that's developing around you. And you've created this thing called Trauma Recover Univerity and hashtag No More Shame. And anybody listening, if you want to do it live, just searching for those two things is really insightful. So you have an incredible story of abuse and recovery, and now not just surviving, but thriving in life and helping so many other people. So we'll get to that in a minute, because you've got some great steps and really good action points for anybody who's either dealt with trauma in their background, particularly sexual abuse trauma, or if you know somebody who's dealt with that or is dealing with it, some great things to hear coming up that would be worth your while and would really point someone's heart or your own heart in the right direction. First of all, Athena, what in the world are you doing today? I understand you live in Hawaii. Is that right?
Yes, I live in Hawaii. Thank you so much, Chris, for having me on. This is such an honor. I live in the beautiful island of Maui, and it is about 74 degrees out, and the trade winds are blowing, and I have a view of the ocean and the islands. And
well, that's about it for our episode. I'm sorry, that's all we need to hear. We're not gonna
wrap it up.
Yeah, you're not sharing hope unless we can come visit you. You know.
Well, this definitely was not always my life, and I think that is why I am so excited about this interview in particular. So yeah,
boy, I'm glad you're here, and I wish I was there doing the interview live. That sounds really awesome.
Always an opportunity there.
I know it. Okay, so let's do this then. We ask these same 5 questions, Athena. You know how this works, but we go through 1,000 interviews around the world and ask people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, in all professions, everything you can imagine, the same 5 questions about hope. So question 1 is, what is your definition or your favorite quote about hope?
Okay. I'm a little bit torn down the middle on my favorite quote about hope, but I would say my definition of hope is knowing that there is something better out there, even if I don't know what it is yet. And for anyone out there that's survived any type of isolation or abuse or anything, and you just don't even know if you're ever going to make it out alive, but just having that glimmer of hope going, you know what? I'm going to make it. I know I am. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know I'm going to make it. And what inspired me to even think those thoughts, I have a favorite scripture. It's Jeremiah 29:11. I'm sure that other people, if there's 1,000 interviews, more people than me have probably said this, but the scripture reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." And I feel like that scripture was written specifically for me.
Wow. That's a sweet verse, and I'm really curious to hear how that plays out in your story, because, and I'll let you get into that on your own, but there's people who are really going through tough times, as you have. It's hard to see that when you're right in the middle of it. You think, yeah, maybe if he could have prevented this stuff, that would have been the most helpful thing he could have done. So I'm not trying to stack the deck one way or another in this argument. There's no argument here. I just think it's a really powerful verse. And a lot of people do say that verse that I've talked to in the past, and I think it's an interesting one to hear more about. So question 2, with your definition of hope, and that verse being a hinge point for that. Who has shared the most hope with you in your life?
Well, interestingly, it's not one particular person, but it is one particular time in my life, like a series of events in a chronological time. For instance, I was 14 years old at the time, very impressionable age, living in total isolation, away from healthy people. And there was a lot of abuse and a lot of things that weren't going very well. And I didn't think very good thoughts about myself. I didn't believe in myself. And I was on that hamster wheel, trying to do good in school and be a good person and have friends and all these different things. And no matter what I did, it just didn't seem to be good enough. And that was sort of compounded and confirmed for me by certain family members. And that is what made it a little bit more painful even. Add on top and, with the sprinkles on top with bullying and everything else that goes on when you're a child. And when you're at that age, when you're like 8th, 9th grade, I mean, it's just painful. It's a hard time to live through. And all within 1 week, my literature instructor at school, her name was Gail Leonti, and she's still a teacher to this day, and she just got some sort of award, I heard. She pulled me aside one day after class, and she told me that I was a really good writer and that I was gifted and talented and smart. And I had never heard that before. I had never heard that I was gifted and talented and smart. And that was a pivotal moment, an integral part of my story, I think. And it's incredible that I still remember it as though it were yesterday. I mean, I remember the color of my book. I remember what paper she was talking about. And, I'm sure that perhaps she said that to many people, but to me, it really stuck and it mattered. And then 2 days later, I got an opportunity to go to church with one of my friend's parents, and we walked into church. I'd never been to a church before that was like a church where people like clap and like a non-denominational type church. I was raised in a Catholic church where everything was really quiet and silent. And so we walked into this church, and it was in California. And I remember everybody was clapping and singing, and they were nice. And I was just like, whoa, these are my peeps. Like, this is incredible. This is fun. I want to come here more. And the pastor that day, his name's Greg Laurie, he was talking from the pulpit, and he said, no matter what anybody says about you, no matter what you think about yourself, none of that even matters. It's what God thinks about you. And he says that you're special, and he says that you're uniquely gifted, and you're talented, and you're smart, and that he has a future and a hope for you. And he goes on to say in Psalm 139 that you are fearfully and wonderfully made in his image, and that he knows every day of your life and what's going to happen every single day before you're even born. And he knows you so intimately that he can count the number of hairs on your head, and the good thoughts he has about you outnumber every piece of sand on every beach in the whole world. And I was just like stopped, like every person in like that whole place was gone, and it was just me. And I swear I just started crying, and I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't understand that. I've never heard that before. No one ever told me that. And that was the day that I think I had faith. And faith, as it says, well, it's pretty common, but I really lean on this. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And I couldn't see a way out from what I was living through or going through at the time. But I look back on that now, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's true. There is going to be a way out. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how it's all going to play out, but all this is going to be used for good somehow, and I'm going to get out of this one day.
Wow. Okay, then I'm just going to roll into question 3. Tell me about a time or what was going on back there. Paint that picture and give us the story of what life was like when you were at a time where hope wasn't one of the things you were really using a lot and you were getting hopeless. And what happened? Because you seem like you're doing really well today. I mean,
I am. It's been a lifelong journey of recovery from childhood trauma, but I am doing very well today. And I do lean on my faith a lot. And I do lean on that quote about hope a lot, because even if I don't have it all figured out, God says he has a future and a hope with me, and his plans are for good. So I really have learned to just trust that. But I will paint a picture of what it was like when I was younger, during that time in my life when I was a teenager. My parents split up when I was young, and my mom had remarried a few times, or a couple times at this point. And the people that she was married to, they were very isolating. They lived in, places where there weren't a lot of people, there was just a lot of isolation in my life going on at that point. My mom, who's a beautiful, wonderful woman, she really is, and we do have a relationship to this day, and I have some really healthy boundaries in that relationship, but we do have a relationship. At the time, she was just coming out of being really, really heavily involved in a lot of drugs and alcohol, specifically a lot of cocaine and addiction. And there was a lot of abuse in my home. There was a lot of domestic violence, a lot of blood, a lot of weapons, a lot of police activity. And it was horrible, horrible, horrible. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy in the whole world. And at the time, I just was hoping that something would happen and my mom and I would get out and we would get away. But it didn't happen that way, and that's okay. But it was very scary. And I would call my dad in the middle of the night if the phone was like still attached to the wall at that point, because it was kind of like, it was scary. There was a lot going on. And my dad would come and he would rescue me, and he would, take me to his house, which was like 30, 40 miles away, but he would like literally come in the middle of the night. So it was this cycle. It was the cycle of things would blow up. There would be blood or weapons or cops or whatever. And then there would be the I'm sorries and everything's going to be okay. It's going to get better. And then there would be the silence, which is scarier than anything. And then the abuse would start again, and it would just start over. And it just kept happening over and over and over for so many years. And it was very scary and it was horrible. And no matter what I did, it wasn't good enough. And I wasn't allowed to go to people's houses or birthday parties. I needed to work outside in the hot sun and pull weeds and do yard work and sort of pull my weight because they provided a roof over my head. That's what I was told, that I should be grateful for the roof over my head. And it was, now that I'm an adult looking back, and I've had clients and I've spoken with hundreds and thousands of people over the last few decades, I know now that those are trafficking. And that's like a trafficking environment. You're used as a laborer. You're exploited. You're sent out to do things for people, whether they be sexual things or physical labor things, or you're used as a charm to get someone's attention. And that's the type of environment that I was raised in. It would go, bad, and then things would be okay. But it is a cycle. So that's where I was in my life. And when that teacher, Miss Leonti, told me that I was smart and that I was talented and I was a good writer, it gave me hope that I could do something good someday. And then when I went to church and all that sort of, was said to me again, I thought, well, gosh, this isn't a coincidence. Like, I need to just hang on. I'm going to get out of this. I just know I am. And so I just sort of, I just wanted to do the best I could to make it through what I needed to make through so that I could move out and get on with my life. So it was difficult. There was a lot of abuse, a lot of bullying, a lot of drugs, addiction, all kinds of crazy stuff. But I feel like God strategically placed people around me at that time in my life to encourage me. And I am still in touch with that family that took me to church that Sunday. They come and visit me here in Hawaii. And when I'm on the mainland, I go and I visit them, and they're like the parents that I never had. They're like, if you could pick your parents, those are the parents that I would pick. And that's, their names are Chuck and Lynn. If they're listening, they might listen if I tell them to listen in. So that would be awesome.
I'm sure they will. So how old are you when when all of this starts, or is this just as early as you can remember?
Yeah. Yeah, it was not good. It was not a good situation. My mom wasn't raised in a real positive environment, and she didn't know that she had the tools available to her to make different choices. And so she didn't make healthy choices. And you know, I'm 41 years old now, and when I was 40, I had a conversation with my mom on the phone, and she said, "I'm so sorry. If I would have known how bad it was, I would have tried to get us out sooner." And then
Wow.
she skipped to another topic of conversation, and I said, "Whoa, whoa, 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 wait, back up. I've waited my whole life for this conversation. Can you please say that again?"
Hmm.
And she cried and she said she was sorry. And I had already forgiven her years and decades before that, but it was just special to hear those words out of her mouth.
Yeah.
Um, it was really special. So it was bad from the time I was born, and it just got worse all the way until uh, I moved out at 17, and I was, married at 18. I had my son when I was 19. I was a single mom, and
Hmm.
but yeah, it was bad the whole time. But it's great now, and it just keeps getting better.
Hmm.
So
Wow. So when you were going to church and you met this new family that is listening in now, I'm sure, and you're going through that process, how long after you started seeing some hope in that family or in the church you were attending, the community you were starting to engage in, how long did it take for you to get out? Was that at your 17th year, or was that like years earlier?
well, I did see hope in that family, the Vogels. I saw hope in their family because they they made things that I only saw on TV. They made it real. Like I could see that they really liked each other and they were kind, and they weren't one way one minute and then change it up the next. Like they really were who they said they were. And that's not everybody has that gift. Not everybody gets to meet people like them. So I did see hope in them. Unfortunately, I came home super excited to share this hope, and I was shut down abruptly. What the heck are you talking about? You're Catholic. Get outside and pull some weeds.
Wow.
I
Wow.
won't use the expletives that were really used, but yeah.
Oh.
So I sort of it's so funny that song, "This Little Light of Mine." I sort of hid my light under a bushel, is what I did.
It might have been the only way to keep it alive. Yeah.
So I did. I sort of hid my faith for a while, and I would, sneak outside at like 6:30 in the morning on a Sunday, and they'd pick me up at the end of my driveway. And they reminded me recently of a time that there was one of my family members chasing the car, screaming at me that I wasn't allowed to leave, and they were they were looking in the rearview mirror and they said, "Whoa, who's that coming and running and screaming?" And they said, "You want us to stop the car?" And I said, "No, drive, drive, drive."
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, it wasn't like I was running away from home. I wanted to go to church.
That's a pretty gutsy move on their part, because they had to be thinking, man, I could get picked up for kidnapping on
Yeah,
this one.
right. I know.
Wow.
But I was like, no, 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 drive, drive, just drive. And so, it was a long time. It was a few years before I actually got to move out. And I don't have very many regrets in my life at all. I have very, very, very few. I can probably count them on one hand. But one of my deepest regrets that I do have is that I did not lean more on my faith and just trust that God did have it all sort of figured out. I wanted to fix it all on my own. I wanted to run on my time clock. I sort of hid my light under a bushel and forgot about it. And I went out there in the world just trying to figure it out on my own, just knowing that anything away from this house must be good. But that's not really the case. The case is that, the truth is that there aren't really a million different ways to do things the right way. There's usually only one or two or a few right ways to do things. And if you're really looking at it, you gotta really think about making healthy choices, having healthy boundaries, and surrounding yourself with healthy people. And it wasn't until I was much, much older, and my son was probably about, I don't know, about 8, 9, 10 years old, until I really started making really healthy choices. I mean, he was never abused like I was. He was never exploited or beaten, or he was never didn't experience the same abuse that I experienced. But I was an ill-equipped teenage mother who didn't have anything. I mean, I was just reinventing the wheel every day, saying, I know I don't want to be like that, so I'm going to do whatever the opposite of that is. And that's reinventing the wheel every day. And that was very, 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 very hard and emotionally exhausting. And I didn't always do. And it's like, if you know now, if you knew then what you know now, hindsight's always 2020. But I did the best I could, and all the things that I didn't do right, I owned it. I took responsibility for it, and I apologized to my son for it later. And we have an excellent relationship, and he's forgiven me for the mistakes I made when I was a teenager, and even the mistakes I still make every single day. And we have a great relationship with open communication and healthy boundaries, and we're very respectful and kind and courteous and other-centered. And he has an amazing wife, and they are just two of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met in my life. I'm so blessed to know them. And so, yeah, I mean, good things do come from horrible situations like that, but it definitely wasn't until, it took a lot of years. It wasn't just me getting out of that situation 3 years later from then. It was actually a long process of, addressing my stuff. You gotta really, the only way through your pain is through it. You can't go around it or over it or under it, because it will pop up and smack you in the face right when you're in the middle of something that you think you're doing great at. So I'm still in recovery. I will probably always be in recovery from childhood sexual abuse and all of the other flavors of abuse that I endured. But every single day I'm making progress, and I'm grateful for my recovery, and I'm grateful for my faith, and I'm grateful for the hope that I have and that I get to share with others.
So you're rolling right into question 4, which is, how are you sharing hope today? And I've mentioned a few of those things. You're doing a lot of hope sharing, not just with some great phrases or slogans that you might put out there in social media or something, but you're actually engaging with people who are in this healing process. So how are you sharing this hope and leading people forward?
Wow. That is a loaded question, and I know that this is a timed interview, so I will be as brief as I can.
You're welcome to introduce question 5 at the same time. It may be helpful with your background, because question 5 is, how can we, the listeners, grow in hope, or begin to share hope? What are those simple ABC steps? So you're welcome to weave those two together or separate them out, either way you like.
Wonderful. Oh, this is awesome. Okay, so the question being, what are some of the things I'm actually doing to invite people to partake in hope? And I want to preface all of this with, I am so grateful to be alive. I am so grateful that when I felt like I just wanted to die, that I didn't succeed at that. I'm grateful that even though I had suicidal thoughts and that I was so lost in all of this pain, and what's wrong with me? Why was I treated that way? Why was I treated, the way that I was treated? Why isn't my life something that's beautiful? I just want to die. Even though I was thinking those things, and I was even plotting and planning in my head, well, if it was an accident, then everything would still be okay, right? Then nobody would blame me. And then if you're going down that road right now, people think those thoughts. They think, well, if I died, no one would care. If I wasn't even here, no one would even miss me. And I am here to tell you right now that you are wrong, because I co-lead a lived experience community through social media with my amazing partner, Bobby Parrish. And we have what started off with 3 girls in a Twitter chat has now grown into a global community where people shared their lived experiences through triumphing through abuse, neglect, eating disorders, suicide, self-harm, addiction, you name it. and we talk about it. And it is a non-judgmental community. We have several private secret Facebook groups. We have 2 live Twitter chats that happen every single week on Twitter. We have a 3rd chat that also has a video component with it. You can watch us live on Google Plus Hangouts on Air, which goes straight over to our YouTube channel, which goes straight over to our Roku TV channel. And that's every single Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, and it's Trauma Recovery University. And you can send me a message from anywhere in the whole world on Twitter, anything you need to say, by using the hashtag #NoMoreShame, and I will find you. And you can put my Twitter handle on there if you want, and it's just Athena Moberg, the little @ Athena Moberg. You can have an anonymous Twitter account that says that your name is Goofy on a skateboard or whatever your name wants to be. I don't know. But you can send me a message 24/7, 365 using the hashtag #NoMoreShame, and I will find you. And myself or my partner Bobby or someone on our team will respond to you. And you're not alone. No matter what you've been through, no matter if your parents are abusing you, whether it's sexually, physically, mentally, emotionally, whether you're in a domestic violence situation, and you're being financially abused, or you're being kept in isolation, or if you have had an abortion, or if you are in the middle of self-harm, or if you have harmed another person and you feel hopeless, you are not alone. You could never shock us. You could just share with us your story, and I guarantee someone in our community is going to go, wow, me too. No way. I thought that was just me. And so again, you can find me online anywhere, athenamoberg.com. On Twitter, I'm Athena Moberg. On Facebook, I'm Athena Moberg. Trauma Recovery University. And we also have No More Shame Project, which is a platform that we provide a platform for other abuse survivors that want to share their real life stories. And we publish a book every November, which is No More Shame November. So
Awesome.
That's what I'm doing.
It's fantastic. And just to follow up with that, there's so much shame and isolation in so many of these issues. And for me, going through cycles of suicidal tendencies in my past, the question is always in my head, well, is there anybody else dealing with this? I think I'm the only one, and I wish somebody was out there talking about it. I wish somebody was talking about that wasn't just a PhD that did a bunch of research, but was like, for real, here's what I'm going through, and here's how I beat it or how I'm dealing with it. And that's really, really helpful, because you think there's nobody else out there being that honest, and you're really scared to tell anybody because you wonder, will I lose my job? Will my friends hate me? Will people think I'm a weirdo? Will somebody commit me to some place to get treatment for a month, and I don't want to do that right now, or whatever it is?
No. And there's a lot of that. There's fear. There's a lot of fear, because even I just talked about this on one of our live broadcasts, Chris. I was lured in by a very well-meaning counselor in middle school who could tell that I was exhibiting behaviors of an abused child. They told me it was safe to tell them, and that nothing bad would happen, and that they would protect me, and they lied. They lied. My parents showed up in the driveway of the school, and I got the crap beat out of me, and it got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So what you're talking about is real. And no, I don't have a PhD, but my partner has a master's degree. She carries all of the pedigree and the diplomas and all the other kind of stuff. But I'm certified as a grief coach, a trauma recovery coach. I've done business coaching, life coaching, you name it. I've done all of that. I'm certified through NAMI. I'm a speaker. I just am real to the core. And I just share my story, and I share the hope that I have. And if it's enough, then great. And if it's not, and they need a PhD, then they can go find that too. But we're just real people sharing a real story, and we just want to help people, and we want to connect them with other people just like them that need help too, and that need encouragement. So if that interests you, then I am so excited that you are listening today, because it's not a coincidence. This message was meant for you. If you are hearing this and this is resonating with you, I am positive that you are the reason that I'm on this interview, if that's you and you feel in despair or that you're hopeless. So reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. You can Google Athena Moberg. It's AthenaMoberg, Moberg. Or you can go to isharehope.com, and we have all the links, Twitter, Facebook, websites, etc. Everything she's doing is right there underneath her picture. So please, if this is kind of ringing a bell for you, just take the next step, which is just as simple as going and finding out more about what Athena's doing. That's all you got to do. You don't have to commit to any long program or anything like that. Just go and
12 steps, and we're not a multi-level marketing scheme, and you don't have to come to my thing and buy my Tupperware, nothing. You can just say hi, and I'll say hi back. And if that's enough for you, just to know that I'm here, then that's cool too.
Awesome.
So, don't worry.
Okay, so the ABCs, what are the simple steps that I can take as someone who's recovering from hopelessness, or even someone who has friends who are recovering or still in that hard spot? What can I do to share hope, or what can I do to grow in hope? Either way you want to go there. The simple steps.
I'll just go ABC then. A, you're going to ask. You're going to reach out and you're going to ask me, Athena, what should I do? This is my story. What should I do? And then B, you're going to be brave, because you are brave. It was brave for you to even do A. It's like takes a lot of courage to be brave enough to even ask for help and say that you're going through something. So just continue to be brave, know that you're brave. And then C, I don't know what C is, but just contact me. There you go. All three steps are just to contact me.
I love it.
I guess deep down, you guys, I just want you to know that you're not alone. And regardless of what you decide to do right now, if you decide to call somebody or whatever, you don't have to go to a local doctor's office and pour your guts out to someone who sees 15 patients a day. I provide Skype help. I provide FaceTime support. I have client agreements that are confidential. You can literally sit at your phone or your computer and meet with a helping professional like myself, and we work on a sliding scale so that no one ever gets turned away for lack of finances. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask. You won't ever run into me at the grocery store or at the restaurant with your family because I'm virtual. So I am here to help you, and it's not a coincidence that you're hearing this today. So just reach out.
Perfect. A, ask for help. Ask Athena or even another friend or family member if you can trust them, but it really is important that you ask someone who has some skill and some talent and background in this. It really does help, because Athena's seen so many people struggle with things that it's really great when she can just give that professional direction. Doesn't mean you have to pay a penny. It means you just need to reach out to her on Twitter, Facebook, or somewhere where you can start a conversation. Take that brave step. Be brave. Great one for B. It is super brave, and you're going to need that bravery. So just know that you are brave. The fact that you're listening to this right now and haven't already turned it off is probably pretty brave. It really is. And
I agree.
C, you can contact Athena, but I'm going to go with another C since we're part of this community. This is the beauty of being in a community. You get multiple views of this. I would say continue. And that continuing is hard, because you think, oh, I did it. I talked to Athena. I was brave. And well, next week it might be hard again, or tomorrow, or next month. This thing goes in cycles when you're healing from something. So continue. Just don't stop. Keep taking baby steps forward, moving on a little farther. Yeah. It's so worth it.
Just don't give up, you guys. Don't give up. Just accept the fact that it's time to recover from whatever it is you've been through, and know that your recovery is a journey, and it's a beautiful journey, even though it's hard.
Yeah, it is. Okay, so again, Athena Moberg, Google it or look her up on Twitter, Facebook, a lot of other social media platforms, her website, and many others. Again, I will have those on the show notes page so you can find those. But a direct shot at her is going to be Trauma Recovery University or hashtag no more shame. So literally hashtag no more shame, no spaces, just spell it out, Google that, and you'll find all the social media feeds that deal with that go straight back to Athena. Okay, Athena, let's take a quick pause for a second and get some quotes in here. By the way, thanks for sharing your story so much already. I'm not going to say it too much because I want to say that in the closing, but you're doing a killer job.
Thank you. It
Okay.
says that you have a whole bunch of questions based on things that I mentioned or something that are funny because it's serious or something. Is that, or no?
Yeah, so
Or,
we're getting there. Don't worry.
mm,
Don't worry. My brain really is
awesome.
more 3-year-old than adult, so just hang on.
Okay.
All right. The I Share Hope quote. So I need you to say, I'm Athena Moberg and I share hope. Or I'm Athena Moberg and XYZ, like about yourself or a survivor or what you're doing now, whatever you want to say about yourself, and I share hope. Your name and I share hope. I don't care what you put in the middle that describes you. Some people put something there. Some people just say their name and I share hope. I'll be quiet.
Oh,
You can give
can
a
I let them know my book that's coming out? Like, I'm Athena Moberg, the author of Aloha for the Soul, and I Share Hope.
absolutely. Yes. And will that book be out
My
in August?
It's not going to be out in August. It will be coming out soon, so I'll say soon.
Okay. That's great. Yep. Do
Okay.
whatever you'd like there. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll be quiet. I'm going to put it on mute and let you go after it. You're welcome to try once or 10 times. Doesn't matter to me.
Aloha. I am Athena Moberg, author of the upcoming book titled Aloha for the Soul. It will be available on Amazon and in a bookstore near you in 2015. And I share hope.
That's great. Now give me one with just your name and I share hope.
Okay. Aloha. I'm Athena Moberg, and I share hope.
Perfect. You know what I think I'm going to do is let's do the book thing in the Q&A
Okay, cool.
because that's a better time. I find that we get people clicking out of the audio at the very end when they hear something intriguing. So that's a great question for me to ask you and a great place for you to hit the book. That way it doesn't distract from, once they hear your story, they're going to be hooked on your book. So
Yay.
the quote you
Okay.
just gave is going to be at the beginning of the episode, and I want to make sure they hear your story before it'll be a better shot. Okay. So Athena, questions. I just love asking these questions. So first of all, you have a book coming out. It's not out yet, right? Have you ever written a book? Is this your first one? And where do we find it?
Well, this is my first book that I am the only author in. I have been featured in several different anthologies and in other people's books, but this is my first book that is just the one that I've written. And it is titled Aloha for the Soul, 5 Simple, Powerful Choices That Will Change Your Life Forever.
Wow. That's a good teaser. Can't wait to hear the 5 simple choices. Aloha for the Soul, the fall of 2015, it sounds like. And we will, or late summer, sometime in the future here coming up soon. All right. We'll look for it. Once we find it, please send me a link so I can put it on the show notes page here. It'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
So you're in Hawaii. You must surf and play the ukulele, right? Isn't that what everybody does?
Everybody asks me if I surf, play the ukulele, swim with dolphins, and drink pina coladas in the sand. The answer is no. I used to surf, but I got hit in the head and it sort of freaked me out, and I don't really surf anymore. I have been trying to learn the ukulele, and I definitely have it as like a bucket list item, but I don't play the ukulele yet as well as I would like to.
And no dolphins?
I have swum with dolphins, actually.
Oh, yeah.
And turtles. I swim with turtles a lot.
Oh, my goodness. That's awesome. Wow. All right. So your voice, I don't know if you listen to your voice much in playback on audio, but you have like the cutest voice, and you sound like you could be a voiceover for like cartoon characters or Pixar movies, or like those voices that make you smile when you hear them. Have you ever done any professional voice over work, like acting?
I have. That is hilarious.
I have no idea. I'm just going for these questions, right? I really, honestly, I didn't have any clue. I don't know where you're going with this.
Thank you for the compliment. Yes, I do some voiceover work, and I have a podcast, and I have an audio version of a book that is in post-production right now, and I'm not allowed to promote it yet because it's in post-production. So, but I do. I'm a professionally trained voice talent. I did sing a lot when I was younger, and I don't sing very much now that I'm older, except for when I'm singing worship songs at church or in my car. I'm a car dancer. I definitely dance a lot in the car, and I sing in the car a lot. But I do voiceover stuff, and I love doing anything voice related. The very first impression I ever did in my entire life was a Bart Simpson impression that my son made me do, and
I'm waiting.
I can't because it's got like curse words in it, and that's like my son was like, "Mom, just say it." And so, but yeah, no, I do some voice stuff. I do some impressions, but my son does too. He's hilarious. So, but
that's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll send you some sound bites.
I would love that. It'd be so fun. Okay, so do you have? I mean, can you rattle one off right now? Anything? You got anything just sitting around there?
Oh, I can't. Not like that.
I'm embarrassing you. For all you other car dancers out there, the rest of us look at you and we think, that's hilarious. But really, the people who are not the car dancers like me, because dancing is just not my skill set to begin with, the car dancers make me happy. Like, I always want to be like, oh, look at them. And I think, and I'm like, oh man, I'm smiling and feel so great now because they're just having a great time. I wish I was a car dancer. Favorite song. So you're rocking along in the car, you're dancing like crazy, and what's in your ears? What are you playing right then?
Anything on 95.5 The Fish, which is a Christian radio station here. I love worship songs. Like I love Carrie Underwood, and I love Third Day. I love Jeremy Camp. I love Mercy Me. I love Francesca Battistelli.
Nice.
But I'm kind of I was raised by parents who are hippies, hence like you already know the lifestyle. Hello. Like my parents were total hippies. They were into drugs and rock and roll and everything. And so I was raised on like Pink Floyd and the Eagles and and the Doobie Brothers, and I mean I have mass music trivia knowledge. I blow my husband's mind because I know like so much about the different like 70s music. 60s and 70s music is probably like if I had a 60s 70s music trivia, I'd probably dominate.
So that's really far apart in the genres there. You got the Christian radio station and you got Pink Floyd. All right, so give me a 60s, 70s track, the favorite song in that genre, favorite song in the Christian music genre, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so probably one of my favorite Christian music genre songs is the Carrie Underwood version of How Great Is Our God.
Awesome.
And she played it with the guitarist, and I'm failing at remembering his name right now. Vince Gill and Carrie Underwood's live version of How Great Thou Art, or is it How Great Is Our God? How Great Thou Art. How Great Thou Art.
Awesome.
That's probably like
I'll look it up. Never heard it, but both of those are great talents. Yeah.
It's so good.
All right, now I'll go back to your hippie roots.
Okay, one more Christian plug, and that is, look, if you go on YouTube, type in Jesus Culture.
All right.
And everything they do is amazing. It's usually live stadium type stuff. They're
Cool.
just super duper awesome. Okay, so back to my hippie roots. It would be a cross between Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, and Eagles. The Eagles song that they sing about Lahaina, which is where I live. I live in Lahaina, Hawaii.
No way.
I do. So they sing a song, and it's called, gosh, I'm like singing it.
We can find it.
It's on the Hell Freezes Over album.
Okay.
So Christian.
How Great Thou Art and Hell Freezes Over album. We will.
Got it.
We'll
Quite a dichotomy going on there. You know what? I got to look it up now because it's going to drive me a little bit crazy. Okay, so it's Eagles, Lahaina. I think he starts it off saying like this. You've heard about how the West was won. This is how the West was lost. Oh. So let me see. Eagles.
Didn't Google great.
Lahaina. Leave it all behind. Sail to Lahaina. Darn it. I don't know the name of the song. It's going to drive me crazy.
Yeah, you're going to think of the middle of the night.
I am. Dang it. Okay. Well, I'll figure it out. But yeah, those are my two. Those are probably my top two.
Awesome. Those are great. I love them. Thank you for
welcome.
educating us on the finer points of your genres.
I also just sent you a copy of the cover of my book, and
Yeah,
it will be
awesome.
in your email box. The Aloha for the Soul book. I just sent you a copy of the digital copy of the book, like the cover.
Great. Okay. Is it by any chance The Last Resort? Is that the Eagles song?
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh, it's the last resort.
I'm just
Yes.
saying that if we go back and play some movie trivia or some 60s and 70s trivia on some music, you're going to have something to watch out for there, because
Apparently,
I just got you.
would always get that. You got me. I normally have it. Maybe if I'm in an interview. That's
All
what
right.
it is.
Athena, super fun to talk to you. Thanks for sharing your story, your heart, what you're doing, and some really simple ABCs that we can follow, along with some great music selections. I can't wait to talk to you again, and I can't wait to see you on social media. I'm sure we'll be chatting there, as well as carrying the conversation forward once people get an earful of what you have to say.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure being on this broadcast, and I just can't wait to see what the I Share Hope project does and just how many people we reach globally. So I'm honored to be a part of your broadcast.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much, Chris. Aloha.
Aloha to you. Bye-bye.
You've just listened to I Share Hope. If you're ready to make a change, head to our website at isharehope.com and claim your free copy of the top 10 actions of hope from world leaders to use hope in your own life. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
9/11. I'm sure that other people, if there's 1,000 interviews, more people than me have probably said this, but the scripture reads, "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a future and a hope." And I feel like that scripture was written specifically for me.
Wow. That's a sweet verse, and I'm really curious to hear how that plays out in your story, because, and I'll let you get into that on your own, but there's people who are really going through tough times, as you have. It's hard to see that when you're right in the middle of it. You think, yeah, maybe if he could have prevented this stuff, that would have been the most helpful thing he could have done. So I'm not trying to stack the deck one way or another in this argument. There's no argument here. I just think it's a really powerful verse. And a lot of people do say that verse that I've talked to in the past, and I think it's an interesting one to hear more about. So question 2, with your definition of hope, and that verse being a hinge point for that, who has shared the most hope with you in your life?
Well, interestingly, it's not one particular, so.
Yeah, boy. I'm glad you're here, and I wish I was there doing the interview live. That sounds really awesome.
Always an opportunity there.
I know it. Okay, so let's do this then. We ask these same 5 questions, Athena. You know how this works, but we go through 1,000 interviews around the world and ask people from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, in all professions, everything you can imagine, the same 5 questions about hope. So question 1 is, what is your definition or your favorite quote about hope?
Okay. I'm a little bit torn down the middle on my favorite quote about hope, but I would say my definition of hope is knowing that there is something better out there, even if I don't know what it is yet. And for anyone out there that's survived any type of isolation or abuse or anything, and you just don't even know if you're ever going to make it out alive, but just having that glimmer of hope going, you know what? I'm going to make it. I know I am. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know I'm going to make it. And what inspired me to even think those thoughts, I have a favorite scripture. It's Jeremiah 20.
Things is really insightful. So you have an incredible story of abuse and recovery, and now not just surviving, but thriving in life and helping so many other people. So we'll get to that in a minute, because you've got some great steps and really good action points for anybody who's either dealt with trauma in their background, particularly sexual abuse trauma, or if you know somebody who's dealt with that or is dealing with it, some great things to hear coming up that would be worth your while and would really point someone's heart or your own heart in the right direction. First of all, Athena, what in the world are you doing today? I understand you live in Hawaii. Is that right?
Yes, I live in Hawaii. Thank you so much, Chris, for having me on. This is such an honor. I live in the beautiful island of Maui, and it is about 74 degrees out, and the trade winds are blowing, and I have a view of the ocean and the islands. And
well, that's about it for our episode. I'm sorry, that's all we need to hear. We're not gonna
wrap it up.
Yeah, you're not sharing hope unless we can come visit you.
Well, this definitely was not always my life, and I think that is why I am so excited about this interview in particular. For anyone out there that's survived any type of isolation or abuse or anything, and you just don't even know if you're ever going to make it out alive, but just having that glimmer of hope going, you know what? I'm going to make it. I know I am. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I know I'm going to make it. The only way through your pain is through it. You can't go around it or over it or under it, because it will pop up and smack you in the face right when you're in the middle of something that you think you're doing great at. I'm Athena Moberg, and I share hope.
Welcome to I Share Hope, the podcast where world leaders share their real stories of hope and how you can use actionable hope to start changing your life today. And now, here's your host, Chris Williams.
Athena Moberg, I can't thank you enough. You and I have talked before this moment, so you really know I mean that. I thank you so much for spending your time with us today. So you've done a lot that's inspired me and thousands of others just watching along in the story that's developing around you. And you've created this thing called Trauma Recovery University and #NoMoreShame. And anybody listening, if you want to do it, I'm just searching for those two.
Person, but it is one particular time in my life, like a series of events in a chronological time. For instance, I was 14 years old at the time, very impressionable age, living in total isolation, away from healthy people. And there was a lot of abuse and a lot of things that weren't going very well. And I didn't think very good thoughts about myself. I didn't believe in myself. And I was on that hamster wheel, trying to do good in school and be a good person and have friends and all these different things. And no matter what I did, it just didn't seem to be good enough. And that was sort of compounded and confirmed for me by certain family members. And that is what made it a little bit more painful even. Add on top and, with the sprinkles on top with bullying and everything else that goes on when you're a child. And when you're at that age, when you're like 8th, 9th grade, I mean, it's just painful. It's a hard time to live through. And all within 1 week, my literature instructor at school, her name was Gail Leonti, and she's still a teacher to this day, and she just got some sort of